In reality, it is the study of parapolitics. Steam Shovel Press is a magazine of parapolitics. It has the same relation to politics that the normal has with the paranormal. In fact, Steam Shovel often examines various aspects of the paranormal, including the existence and cover-ups of UFOs, mind control technology, cryptozoological creatures, things like the Montauk material, also known as the Philadelphia experiment and the secret space program, including what goes on at Area 51 and what's behind the idea that the moon landings were hoaxed. That prefix para has Greek etymological roots and means at, to, or to one side of, beside, or side by side, just as Bigfoot, the Mothman, and the Loch Ness Monster exist side by side with known animals in the paranormal world. That's a little bit from Parapolitics, Conspiracy in Contemporary America by Ken Thomas. And Ken Thomas will be my guest this evening on the Stench of Truth radio show on InceptionRadioNetwork.com, 7 to 9 p.m. Fridays. So stop by for some parapolitical and conspiracy discussion with one of the masters of the genre, Ken Thomas. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. There really isn't a lot that is occupying my mind when it comes to what's happening. I just want to reiterate a few things for you that are very important. One, we had an unprecedented earthquake on the East Coast, which apparently had its epicenter in Mineral, Virginia. And this quake was felt as far north as areas of Canada. Pittsburgh, where I live, experienced the shake. My sister works in the downtown area in a tall building, and she felt the shakings. I did not feel anything myself, and I kind of feel gypped about this. What's kind of interesting about this earthquake is that there aren't any active faults where this earthquake occurred, and it was relatively shallow. And the shallow nature of it and the very hard, cool bedrock of the eastern coast means that transmission of energy is very efficient. So that's why they could feel this so far away. But the idea that people understand how the Earth moves and what the Earth does is completely erroneous. Scientists don't have a fucking clue. All they're doing is making educated guesses. That's it. That's been my experience when it comes to trying to understand very chaotic structures like the weather and earthquakes. That's why we cannot predict them and probably never will be able to. Because it would require a level of knowledge about how the earth works that science simply does not have. So, but in this particular case, no active faults. Now, the explanation that they give for the earthquake is that there are old scarred over fault lines which are no longer active that still serve as release points for stresses within the earth. So that's just like saying that if there's a crack somewhere and you flex the thing, the break will be along the crack. So it stands to reason in a logical sense, but again, can we identify where all of these, previous fault lines were and have an idea of where we might expect somewhat unexpected earthquakes? I don't know, but it's something that you need to think about, and you need to understand that there is no scientific, a complete understanding from a scientific point of view on how the Earth works, and I doubt there ever will be, because it's such a chaotic system and it's so large and it incorporates so many things. Now the other thing is Hurricane Irene, which is barreling up the Atlantic coast. This storm is rather interesting because it is incredibly wide, and it is right at this moment a Category 2 hurricane, but they expect there to be significant damage along the coast and inland for some distance because of the size of the storm cell. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who accept the idea of global warming being caused by man-made carbon dioxide emissions. I do not buy that scenario. But if you do buy the supposed global warming supposed hypothesis, then a lot of people will be crying because this is quote-unquote proof of dramatic weather and increasing violence of storms, a lot of things that they try to equate with this theory of global warming. But one could also imagine that there are other factors at work here. And one of the things that was recently brought to my attention, which is a very interesting concept for you to understand. When we're moving into the year 2012, which I do not buy any of the apocalyptic nonsense that people are talking about when it comes to 2012 and the end of the world, the Mayan calendar, and all that baloney. It's all a bunch of malarkey. But there will be several conjunctions and several things that happen in and around 2012 which may have an effect on the Earth, which may just add enough energy to the system to create more volatile activity. And that means bigger, stronger storms for a period of time. That means unexpected earthquakes in areas that are not normally earthquake prone. So it highlights the need to be ready, to be prepared. And I've been talking about preparedness for a long time, and I think it's very important for you to be prepared, to make sure you have batteries, flashlights, water, food, and various other things that you need, and you have them stored in your house, candles, things to make fire, etc. Emergency supplies, like make sure you have all your medications filled, over-the-counter medications like aspirins, things like this, so that you are prepared for any kind of disaster that might come your way. Because the only thing I'm saying is that these kind of things could become more violent, more turbulent, if there's more energy added into the system. And the galactic alignment along the plane and the various conjunctions of planets, while having very minimal effect, according to physical laws, it may be enough. It may be just a little bit more than what the system can handle. And for that reason, it may cause some of these things. It may just be that little extra nudge that causes an earthquake, or that causes a storm to build into gigantic proportions. I don't know. That could be completely wrong. Okay? And it's not apocalyptic. It doesn't mean we're going to have, super storms that destroy entire continents, and, earth-rending earthquakes with, half of a country falling into the sea or anything like that. It's just nonsense. One final thing that I want to make note of is this entire idea, which I continue to hear more and more and more about, and I wish people would just let it go, because it is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. First, there's the Nibiru, Planet X, the dwarf star, the home of the Anunnaki, that's going to come around. It's out there. It's on again, off again, on again, off again. Okay, for years we've been dealing with this, okay? And then there's Comet Elenin, okay? And Elenin, there are 2,000 ways you could break down the name, and you could break down the first name, and it has significance for this, and it has significance for that. There are spaceships following along behind it, or at least there are companions. It's some kind of time capsule. It's some kind of marker. It's been projected into our solar system. It's being controlled. It's being manipulated. It's being directed, etc. All of that is fucking bullshit. All of this crap that they want you to focus on is the same kind of shit that they shovel in your fucking face at the box office in movies. Nothing but alien invasion, alien this, alien that, even in the mainstream media, even talking about such mundane topics as economics, for God's sake, talking about using an alien invasion to boost the fucking economy. A fake one at that. This meme is being poured on you ladleful by ladleful, and it's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. And it's meant to distract you. You're going to be worried about Elenin blowing up the Earth, or Nibiru coming in and smashing up the entire solar system. You're not going to be worried about we don't have any fucking jobs. We're all losing our fucking jobs. All of our homes are being taken away from us. The rich keep getting fucking richer. Corporations continue to fucking rape us and take everything that we own and fire people here in the United States and hire slave laborers overseas. And a government that does not work for us but works for the rich and the wealthy and corporations. The continued enrichment of Wall Street. The continued destruction of the middle class, poor, and all of the social safety programs, all led by President Barack Obama, the ultimate constructed monstrosity, a golem made for the specific purpose of wearing a mask of flesh, a Marxist backstory that was so meticulously crafted that people who normally would be able to see through the ridiculous nonsense that he's a socialist and a left-wing person in any way, shape, or form are still fooled by the propaganda and the legend surrounding the man, rather than the bare facts of who he is and what he has done. And that is to sell out everything that any progressive, any populist, anybody who is interested in the well-being of the majority of Americans, the middle and working classes, the poor, the elderly, all of these people who have been made victims of this administration. Do you see how all of this 2012, Armageddon, Apocalypse, Elenin, Nibiru, Planet X, all of this is being thrown at you as a way to distract your attention from the real issues that affect us every fucking day? Do not even bother to dwell on it for a minute, because it's nothing but useless fucking waste of time. Elenin is not going to hit fucking Earth. It's not going to do anything. It's not a mothership. It's not spaceships. It's not aliens. It's a fucking comet. It's a comet, period. That's all it is. As far as I can see, there's no evidence there's a Nibiru, a Planet X, or a dwarf star. If it's being covered up, they've done a pretty fucking good job of it. Because there are people on Earth who have telescopes that are private individuals who theoretically should be able to see this thing, even if it is relatively dim. So if it's a massive cover-up, it's working really good, and I'm fooled by it. But no Nibiru, no Planet X, no dwarf star, and Elenin is just a comet. It's going to come near the sun. It may be destroyed by its passage. If it isn't, it'll go back out again to wherever it came from. And there's not going to be any alien invasion or anything else. Focus on the here and now, and quit worried about what might happen with apocalyptic scenarios that serve the purpose of the elites, and of course people in the alternative community that have something to sell, whether it just be their own ideas and opinions to make them look like they have some kind of metaphysical answers for you, or they're selling products like buy my alien invasion preparedness kit and get gold because that's the only thing aliens will accept in currency. I mean, it's going to come to that, folks. I guarantee you. One last thing. Max Kaiser said before that once silver reached $40 an ounce, it would break J.P. Morgan. Well, it did, and it didn't. So I'd like for Max Kaiser to come out and say that he was wrong about that. Now I know there's going to be quibbling. He's going to say, well, they have to take physical possession of it. Well, that's not what he said. He said, if we can get silver up to $40 an ounce, it will break J.P. Morgan. That's what he said. He was wrong. I'd like him to admit it. I admit when I'm wrong, and I'll come on here and admit that I'm wrong if Elenin is trailed by spaceships and big giant aliens land and eat us. If I have enough time, before I'm eaten by the giant aliens, I will make a video and say I was fucking wrong. Thank you. Good day.